Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
There has been a few companies out there that they might meet you halfway for your flight to get you to the job, to the project. But after that, if you want to go home and visit your family, it's basically coming out of your pocket.
I think that we're all just going to come out and give it our best effort and try and force a Game 7. So I think we're all just looking forward to that.
We call it the Keep Home Project, and it started basically about two weeks after the war started. Just watching the young ladies coming off the train with their young children and the look of hopelessness on their faces.
Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a look at how travel expenses are hammering people in the trades. That's according to local Conservative MP Chris Lewis. He's put forward a bill in Parliament that would help. If passed, Bill C-241 would create a tax credit that would allow tradespeople to be reimbursed for travel expenses. Jacob Barker has more.
Trades workers are in big demand across the country right now, but getting to a job site can take a big bite out of their earnings.
You could spend basically half your paychecks just traveling to different areas for work.
Electrician Jarrett Mills frequently travels for jobs. He's all for being able to claim those expenses.
And we have lots of jobs across Canada.
That's the goal of Bill C-241, to claim travel, accommodation, and food against their income taxes.
If people have to pay to go to work with the price of fuel and the price of food and the price of transportation and the price of hotels and the price of accommodations, then why are they going to want to go to work?
Essex MP Chris Lewis, who tabled the bill, hopes it would provide incentive for more people to get into the trades. Lewis says in Ontario alone, about 350,000 workers will be needed by 2025.
The most common sense bill I could possibly bring forward, which really brings opportunity for our skilled trades force to get the job done, to build the infrastructure that we all need.
It's something people in other business-oriented professions have been allowed to do. Jarrett Mills says companies only sometimes partially cover workers' travel costs.
They might meet you halfway for your flight to get you to the job, to the project. But after that, if you want to go home and visit your family, it's basically coming out of your pocket.
He believes the bill would get more people into the trades, something Mills says is needed right here in Windsor.
If we don't have the construction workers in depth to come into our area, a lot of these projects are going to get unfinished.
For the bill to eventually become law, it will have to pass a third reading in the House as well as a vote in the Senate. Lewis says that other than one Liberal MP, it was only opposition parties that supported the bill. He is, however, optimistic that Bill C-241 will cross the finish line. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
It is a big night for the Windsor Spitfires. The team is in the Ontario Hockey League Championship Finals for the first time in 12 years. And this match tonight is do or die. Our CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa joins us live now from outside the WFCU Center. Jen, what is the energy like right now?
Kat, the stadium outside here is already packed with people. Fans are anxious, and understandably so. The Spitfires haven't been in the OHL finals since about 2010, and that's also when they were the champions and won. Right now, the team is down by a game, and tonight they're facing the Hamilton Bulldogs. I met up just a little ago with Dick Tracy. He is someone who waves a giant Spitfires flag, and he's usually in the crowd just hanging out. He comes to so many of these games. Tonight he's here with his grandson, and he'll be passing on that flag to him so that he can wave it at future games. They're really excited and pumped to see what's going to be happening tonight. Katerina, they really have to win this match tonight, otherwise they're out of that championship. I was here a little bit earlier today, and I was speaking with volunteers as they were setting up, and I also caught up with some of the players.
Ahead of the rush of Spits fans, volunteers were at the stadium early to get pre-game ready. They say they do it all for the fans.
I think a lot of it is the little kids. So you get them on the Jumbotron, or they win a contest or something like that, and they're just the happiest little kids ever, and it's just nice to see the joy on people's faces.
I'm really looking forward to kind of the atmosphere. It's been really packed in the whole playoffs. There's been a lot of people here. Hopefully the boys can come out and get a big win, have this place going nuts, and maybe blow the roof off.
It's a big night for the Windsor Spitfires, and they're planning to do whatever it takes to win.
I think I'm just excited to get out there with, the boys again, and we're fighting with, our backs on the line. We're fighting to try and stay alive. So I think that we're all just going to come out and give it our best effort and try and force a Game 7. So I think we're all just looking forward to that.
Overall, I think we've done a good job. I think, there's still, some room for improvement and some room to do better. But I think ultimately going into this series, I think everyone thought that, we didn't really have much of a chance. And I think we're, proving people wrong. I think the biggest thing is just the fans and, just how much they mean to us. And, we're all excited to just kind of battle for each other as a team and, battle for the city of Windsor to try to bring a OHL championship back to Windsor.
The game starts in less than an hour, and as the minutes pass, as you can see behind me, just more and more fans are coming in here. If the Spits win tonight, they will go on to that Game 7, which will determine this year's OHL champions. Katarina, back to you.
Thanks for that, Jen. The CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reporting live from the WFCU Center. A Kingsville developer is looking to help Ukrainian refugees. He's part of a group hoping to build a home for 2 families to live in when they arrive in Canada. They're calling it the Kyiv Home Project. And tonight, they're looking to Kingsville Council for support. Dale Molnar has more.
The house is just going on this lot here.
Gary Taverne got the idea to build a house for Ukrainian refugees a few weeks after the war started. He's donating the 15-meter lot in the Woodridge Estates subdivision he's building in Cottam. The BK Cornerstone contractor is organizing a large amount of free labor from tradespeople to help pay for the $250,000 project. Taverne is going before Kingsville Council tonight to ask it to waive about $20,000 in development charges and other fees.
It's a lot more rewarding than I expected as well. Our whole family and our community has gotten so behind it. All the councillors are actually in the administration. They've all been helping. We've had several meetings before this.
The Taverns have a fundraising website started. For Gary and his family, this is a special project because his in-laws came to Canada from Bosnia in 1994 under similar circumstances.
That we used that as our story of hope and our inspiration for this project.
The house will be given to the Cottam United Church, which will take the families in and help them get acquainted with their new home. They're also taking donations and are looking for volunteers to help with settling the families.
It will take a large number of people, we think, to do that, and we have a good number of people at our church. What we're hoping to do is engage the community, so this becomes not just a church project, it becomes a community project in Cottam.
Taverne's daughter, who is also working on the project, hopes the families can stay for about 3 years.
We want to support these families in order to be able to grow and become a part of the community and thrive. We'd actually like the home to cycle through different families.
A Ukrainian community organization called the Ukrainian National Foundation Windsor chapter will refer refugee families to the project. The Taverne family hope to have the house built by September. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Cottam.
A section of a Detroit road has collapsed, and an investigation is underway to determine if it was caused by Gordie Howe Bridge construction work. It happened June 5th overnight at West 4th Street and Cavalry Street. Concrete collapsed inward. There were sheet piling activities taking place nearby for the construction of the bridge. Now, officials say no one was on site when it happened and no one was injured.
The first reaction is about safety. Our safety is our top priority. So our first question was everyone safe? And once that was ascertained that there were no injuries, the next question became, now let's look into the cause.
Grondin says if it's confirmed the bridge work was to blame, she says Bridging North America would cover the cost of repairs, though the dollar amount is not known. The very hungry caterpillar known as the Spongy Moth is easing its appetite, at least it is here in Windsor, Essex. The invasive leaf-eating insect is so far gobbling up less foliage.
So the spongy moth, formerly known as the gypsy moth, is an invasive species that we have here in Ontario. Luckily, so far, we haven't been seeing the numbers that we have in previous years. So the last couple years, the spongy moth numbers were high. And in one instance, I was walking down a trail last year, and it's raining caterpillar poop out of the trees because there is so many spongy moth in the area. But this year, it doesn't seem to be as bad.
But the region isn't completely out of the woods. The city says this points to the cyclical nature of the spongy moth. Some years they are abundant and some years they are not. And downswings tend to follow after years of heavy infestations. If residents spot the spongy moth on their trees, it's suggested you try scrapping off the eggs. But there are options after they hatch as well, like wrapping burlap against a tree to prevent the caterpillars from reaching the foliage. The committee investigating the January 6th attack on Capitol Hill held its second day of public hearings today in Washington. Today, the panel dug deeper into what it calls the big lie, that U.S. President Donald Trump was informed that claims of fraud in the 2020 presidential election were false, but continued to push them.
You will also hear testimony that President Trump rejected the advice of his campaign experts on election night and instead followed the course recommended by an apparently inebriated Rudy Giuliani to just claim he won and insist that the vote counting stop, to falsely claim everything was fraudulent. He falsely told the American people that the election was not legitimate. In his words, quote, a major fraud. Millions of Americans believed him.
Trump's former campaign manager testified that he advised Trump not to declare victory as ballots were still being counted. He said Trump refused to listen. The president's attorney general at the time, Bill Barr, testified that Trump became, quote, detached from reality in his pursuit to fight the election result. The pandemic has taken its toll on learning and social interactions for some children, and a new study shows there was a lack of physical exercise too. CBC's Deanna Sumanak-Johnson looks at how schools and parents are working to help kids get fit again.
The activities they're trying out are new, but they bring back the familiar joy of moving around with friends, something kids haven't had a lot of since the pandemic began.
Yeah, I did stuff by myself and with my family. We'd go on bike rides and stuff, but I wouldn't see my friends. We wouldn't go play basketball with my friends. Parks were closed, everything. So it took a toll on me when I couldn't do it.
I do feel a change. Well, other than feeling more active than I was during online, I feel I have a better state of mind.
While lags in math and literacy as a result of the pandemic disruptions to learning have garnered much attention, the potential lag in kids' physical activity isn't talked about as much. Screen time and sedentary lifestyle were already big problems before the pandemic. But according to a study, once the pandemic broke out, only 3% of Canadian kids met the guidelines on movement, screen time, and sleep. After the kids returned to in-person schooling, that figure rose, but only slightly, to between 5 and 6%.
The physical inactivity and increased screen time should really be considered a collateral consequence of the pandemic for these kids. And children may be less fit as a result of being less active. They may also be experiencing higher levels of depression and anxiety as a result of the pandemic.
The remedy, experts say, is both at home and at school. This Toronto school has resumed its popular Spring Wellness Week with new activities like juggling and learning to play cricket.
So cricket has both the physical element of it, running, catching, fielding. The one additional element that the cricket brings is the strategy.
And there's a strategy experts recommend for families too. Build in unstructured, fun activities like taking a walk after dinner or biking, as the slow crawl out of the pandemic hopefully builds to a speedier jog. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
A young woman from Detroit has just finished hiking the 900-kilometer Bruce Trail. She started the trek in May to launch the Black on Bruce project. It took 39 days and merged her passion for the outdoors with a desire to remove barriers Black people and other groups face when it comes to outdoor spaces, plus learning about the history of the Underground Railroad along the way.
I definitely think what kept me going was just the community that we were building as we were hiking, and having the support of so many people while doing the hike. I think the most difficult days were definitely the days when it was cold and rainy. There was definitely some days where the weather made it really difficult, but having the community is what kept me pushing. What I really appreciated about being able to meet with historians is go to museums were that both of the historians that I met with were actually descendants of people that came to Canada like via the Underground Railroad. So getting to hear those stories from a very personal connection meant a lot. And so I really appreciated how personal and close to home those stories have been kept in Owen Sound and in St. Catharines. The response was really great. I had the opportunity to tap into a lot of more conversations and get tuned in with a lot of other organizations run by Black women who do outdoor adventure, which was really amazing to kind of build that team.
And you can hear more of that conversation on Windsor Morning tomorrow at 6:50 a.m. on 97.5 FM. A live look outside there, a beautiful sunny day, but we do have a chance of thunderstorms overnight. Colette will be here after the break with more. Colette Kennedy is here now for a look at our weather forecast. Colette, a beautiful day today to get outside.
Oh yeah, just some wonderful conditions. And so it's kind of always one of those things where, all right, now I've got to get my mindset, just for anyone who does need to be out in the overnight hours, if you're a shift worker or some kind of, whatever it is that might take you out, we are going to be seeing some active weather coming through the later evening and overnight hours. So be aware of that. I'm starting off though as well with the current temperatures, not just in our region, but let's stretch that out into the Midwest. You can see some of that extreme heat, lots of excessive heat warnings in place, lots of records that were broken over the weekend. Even towards Denver, they reached 38 degrees. It was a tie for the earliest in the season to make that, 38 being also 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So that heat coming our way, we're just getting it kind of gradually now, but you're really going to start feeling it as we get towards Wednesday. Also the humidity building. So that can lead to more active weather later on, but let's talk about the setup tonight. So here's what we're sitting at right now, 25 in Chatham-Kent, 22, a little cooler, breeze off the lake there for Sarnia, and the humidex value starting to creep up. This is nothing yet. We'll be getting towards that 40 mark or more as the week wears on. There's some of the weather to the west of us. Now, a lot of lightning strikes, but some of these are dying out or losing some of their steam, so to speak. So as this comes through, just looking at some of the advisories from the U.S. side of things, now much of it is over the lake, so this could change here as things redevelop a little bit, but primarily this is a watch area in here for some of the heat, and then the warnings down here. It's more of these cells further south that are stronger, more potent right now, and the severe thunderstorm warnings are in play for those. Nonetheless, lightning strikes, rumble of thunder, some strong gusty winds as this comes through tonight, kind of in a couple of batches. So we'll see the one coming through, and then we'll get a break, and then another in those overnight hours after midnight. So tomorrow morning, what's left? Well, as we get towards that morning kind of commute, maybe a few showers, certainly some cloud cover, and then even that's going to erode. The afternoon becoming really quite lovely. It might just take in some cases a little more time to get there, but I think that sun will be breaking out pretty nicely. So breezy overnight tonight. At times those winds gusting even stronger than those 50 kilometers an hour. And then look at this 5-day forecast with that climb of the temperatures and the climb of those humidex values. And that's why there could be the setup for some active weather a little later in the week, Kat.
Oof, that is going to be hot, Colette.
Thank you. It's
for
coming.
That.
Yeah.
It's coming.
You're welcome. I'm not sure you meant thank you, but yep.
We always thank you and appreciate you. Thanks, Colette.
You got it.
When we come back, we're going to take a look at the future of the Ontario Liberal Party. Stay with us. Ontario Liberals are trying to figure out what to do now after suffering back-to-back election disasters. Some are calling for a big rethink about what the party stands for before rushing into a leadership race. Our Queen's Park senior reporter Mike Crawley has the story.
Now, to be clear, this isn't the outcome that we had hoped for.
That's putting it mildly. Stephen Del Duca followed up what had been the worst election result in provincial Liberal history.
I am resigning as the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party.
With its second worst result, just 8 seats and another resignation.
I informed our party president of my decision to step down from the leadership of our party.
It's all got these Ontario Liberals and others wondering where the party goes from here.
I don't think we can minimize what happened. We have lost 2 elections very badly. And I do worry about becoming irrelevant, to the people of Ontario or not being seen as a party that can win.
Andrea Barrick says the party's purpose has become a little unclear.
Certainly through the campaign, we moved very far left. And as a person who joined the Liberal Party because I believed in a strong centrist party in the province, I think we do need to really think about what is it that we stand for.
Yet there are other Liberals who believe shifting rightward politically would be a mistake.
I don't think that this past election on June 2nd was Ontario voters saying we don't want a progressive Liberal Party. It was Ontario voters saying you just haven't quite shown us yet that you're really different from the previous era.
I am. There does seem to be broad consensus among Ontario Liberals on one thing, that the party should not rush into picking a replacement for Del Duca.
We need to revitalize the party. And that doesn't start with picking a leader, it ends with that.
Well, thank you so very much. There are also Liberals calling for generational change, not just with the leader, but also the party brass.
Because we want to build a new party, not just rebuild what might have worked in the 80s or the early 2000s. This is a different time, and it's going to require a different way of thinking.
Thank you so very much. Really appreciate it.
Not only are the Ontario Liberals searching for a new leader, they've got some political soul searching ahead as well. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
The Canada goose is something of a national symbol in this country, but they've gained a reputation for being something of a nuisance as well. Windsor is no stranger to the birds disrupting traffic and overrunning parks, but the city of Winnipeg is crying foul, not so much about the geese, but the tactic used to keep them away. The CBC's Emily Brass reports.
It's a peaceful spot to enjoy your lunch until you hear this.
It's really annoying. I came outside to enjoy the fresh air and the sun, and that does nothing but give me a headache.
The noise comes from these speakers blasting the shrieking sounds of birds of prey. It's meant to scare away Canada geese, but it's also getting people in a flap.
Well, we haven't seen a single goose here at Memorial Park, but it's hard to say whether that's because of the bird alarm or because of the lack of water. The province says the fountains are shut down right now for spring maintenance, but they say all the geese last year were causing a problem because of their droppings. A Canada goose can poop as much as 1 kilo a day, and all those droppings were clogging up the works.
The province will soon clean up the foul mess left by their feathered foes.
I'm all for it because they go everywhere, the sidewalks, the parks, grass, everywhere that even the poor little kids got to walk through. So,
but an expert in bird psychology says the geese will catch on.
Animals are not stupid. So they learn the loud noise goes off and nothing happens. And so they ignore it.
He says the city's lush grass and abundant waterfronts have geese flocking to Winnipeg. But he says something has to be done to reduce their population. Shapiro recommends addling the eggs, destroying the embryos, and putting them back in the nest where they'll never hatch. Meanwhile, some in the lunch crowd say they'd stop squawking if they killed the alarm. The province has no immediate plans to shut it off. Emily Brass, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And that is it for CBC Windsor News. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.